Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and yours truly, the Captain. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good. Ready to rock. Got a lot of things going on.
Sir. Some house cleaning.
House cleaning to do.
What are we talking about today?
It's
been an interesting time.
Yes, man. We are going to be talking about today real quick, the Firearms Policy Coilition, or betterwise known as the FPC. They got something interesting I could share with you guys. We're going to be talking a little bit about possibly Jeffrey Epstein. Some new information came out around him.
More celebrities.
Yep.
More high-powered clients.
I think we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into the FBI and the Joe Biden corruption. Some interesting news with Christopher Wray came out. We got some interesting tweets of the week and a parody account with AOC. That'll be a little bit of a meaty topic. It
has been the best day I spent on Twitter. I know last episode I was sitting here going, I hate Twitter. I don't want to be on it anymore. Boy,
the one you back.
That was entertaining.
The Twitter magic recaptured you. Real quick, we got some other things coming up as well. Tomorrow, I'm also going to be recording with Ben from Pilsners and Politics. Me and him are going to be talking about Trump versus DeSantis, the primary, and the insane rhetoric that's been going on around that. Captain and I are going to be doing another Doomed review soon of Heaven's Door whiskey. I got a 3-pack right here. We're going to be... I think it's actually a good setup, right? Like it's, we'll try all three, compare them against each other. We're going to be doing that. That'll probably be out next week. Ben will be out next week. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to go check out our TikTok. We're back on there. We're doing good again.
Yes, sir.
As we did the first time before we got banned.
We're over 1,000 followers already.
Yeah, we are, man. And we are also working on the live episodes. We're doing a little testing right before we started recording. So keep an eye out for that in the future. We will be going live at some point. And the cool thing about that is that you will be able to interact with us. You'll be able to comment and stuff like that. So you could kind of chime in on certain things.
We'll probably start going live right after YouTube gives us the boot finally.
Yeah, we'll see about YouTube. If anything, again, so thank you for reminding me. Like, this is a good time to go follow us on Rumble and all the other platforms that the show was on. The lives will, I don't know. We'll see, right? Because we're not necessarily safe for being on YouTube. So it might just be on Rumble. Possibly another website that the King of the Trash Realm was telling me about called Kick, which is kind of like a competitor to Twitch. And
they're the anti-Twitch.
So we'll see. Things are in the works, folks. Stay tuned and keep watching. We'll keep you updated as we go. So let's get into it, Cap.
Yep.
You had a good topic today. You had the good story with the FBI and the GOP chairman and all of that stuff. Want to bring up the news article? Or do you want to prep?
Yeah, Christopher Wray is going to be held in contempt by the GOP oversight committee for not turning in the documents on Biden's play to pay scheme. Long story short, last week there were 3 whistleblowers that took the stand and were questioned by members of Congress.
Yeah, real quick, I'm sure you saw them. One of the guys, man, he looks like us. Like he's like, receding hairline, big beard. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Damn it. It's where like it's supposed to be a play on Animal Farm where like these conservatives are kidnapped by like elite liberals and then they're like shipped overseas and then hunted down in the woods, but they're able to fight back. There's one guy in the movie. He I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's one guy in the movie. He looks just like this FBI whistleblower guy, and there's a hysterical scene in the movie where the characters are kind of figuring out what's happening to them because they don't even know what's going on. And they're like, oh, we're at this thing. And the one woman's asking the guy, he's like, how do you know? He's like, I have a podcast. So it's just so funny. The guy reminded me so much of that character. So
I've never seen this movie you speak of. I think I know what you're talking about.
The Hunt. I think it's called The Hunt. Yes.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, go check it out. It's hysterical. It's a great movie.
So anyway, these whistleblowers have evidence that Joe Biden, during his vice presidency, were taking basically bribes, play to pay, for political decision making. We've spoken at length that the Biden family is a political crime family, and they're definitely guilty of some of these allegations. But we live in a country that has a two-tier justice system. The FBI has been weaponized, and now they aren't playing ball with the GOP. They're making up bullshit. So let's get into the article if you want.
Sure. So I got this one from ABC News. Me and Captain, we sorted through a couple articles, try and get you the best one that give you the most information, and tried to be a little bit unbiased, which is impossible.
I've read three, and I've read 3 articles, and this was probably the best one
with the most context, without being any sort of bias or putting any spin on it. Kind of.
There is a good paragraph at the end that I'm going to read if we don't read the whole thing.
Okay, so so from ABC News, GOP chairman, I almost said chairwoman, moves to hold FBI Director Wray in contempt over Biden doc. It says the chairman of the House Oversight Committee said Tuesday he's moving forward with holding FBI Director Chris Wray in contempt of Congress because the department has not turned over a bureau record that purports to relate to President Joe Biden and his family. Rep. James Comer criticized the federal law enforcement agency after he said his committee was told it would not gain access to an unclassified form that describes an alleged criminal scheme involving the president and a foreign national. Unclassified form too, so it's not even like it's super classified information that they don't have access to. It's an unclassified form that has information that you would think would need oversight. Correct? Isn't this the oversight committee? That's what they're supposed to be doing theoretically, oversight of government, right?
And the FBI isn't playing ball.
Nope. The FBI decision to stiff-arm Congress and hide this information from the American people is obstructionist and unacceptable, Comer said in a statement. In response, the FBI said in a statement that it remains committed to cooperating with lawmakers in good faith. Doesn't seem that way, and that any discussion of escalation under these circumstances is unnecessary. The FBI said it offered to give the Oversight Committee access to information responsive to the committee's subpoena in a format and setting that maintains confidentiality and protects important security interests and the integrity of FBI investigations. Sounds like they're go ahead. Yeah.
So they just said 2 paragraphs ago an unclassified document, and here they are saying a setting that maintains confidentiality and protects important security interests and the integrity of the FBI investigation. The only thing they're protecting is, quote unquote, the integrity, the shitty integrity of the FBI. If it's unclassified, you don't need this confidentiality setting.
Yeah. So again, like, what do I know? We're not there. I don't have the documents. I don't know the inner workings of the FBI. But this sounds like to me is they just want to cover their own ass, right? Like they want to pick and choose what exactly is let out or not. They don't want like an open. They don't want all the documents out there where Republicans are going to blast it on social media everywhere, and everybody could go with a fine-tooth comb over every little tiny thing. I'll continue. The Bureau called that offer an extraordinary accommodation. Comer and Wray are scheduled to speak by phone on Wednesday, that is today, amid the standoff. Calls to move forward with contempt were elevated by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy early Tuesday, told Fox News that he personally called Wray to urge a release of document to Congress. If he does not act, he's not above the law. He's not above Congress, and we will hold him in contempt. Now, I want to be very clear about that, McCarthy said. Comer subpoenaed Wray earlier this month, seeking a specific FBI form from June 2020 that is a report of conversations or interactions with a confidential source. These reports are routine, contain uncorroborated and unvetted information, and do not on their own establish any wrongdoing. In a May 3 letter to Wray with Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, Comer said that it has come to our attention that the Bureau has such a document that describes an alleged criminal scheme involving Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions when Biden was vice president, and includes a precise description about it. It's interesting, right? Because this is, look, this story came out a few weeks ago, and as normal, like nothing has occurred.
Yep, nobody's even really going crazy about it.
And this again, it's what do you call it? It says it's a form from June 2020. It's 2023. And I'm going to stop here for 1 second just to make the point that this hasn't leaked at all up until now. And it didn't really leak. It kind of just came out, organically. When any of these investigations that had to do with Trump, this is whataboutism, right? But any of these investigations that had to do with Trump, the FBI always leaks shit to the corporate press or to the Democrats or whoever. But 3 years they've had this information and they haven't leaked it. They, on top of that, another example, they've been investigating Hunter Biden for years, and none of that stuff, like even the laptop, like they knew about the laptop before I think Giuliani and them even got the laptop or anything like that. But none of that leaked.
They still call it Russian disinformation.
Exactly. Right.
Yep. So I actually found out today, listening to some other podcasts about this topic, that the FBI closed several investigations into Clinton and the Clinton Foundation before the 2016 election. Just so happened they're going to close those cases before she runs for president. For good optics, none of that shit could pop up.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years, which is we're in the meat and potatoes, what we're going to get into, is just really how political the FBI is. Obviously, the Durham report came out and showed that all of that shit was inappropriately began. Like they had no evidence or like appropriate reasoning or evidence to start any of that investigation at all. Obviously, it was all fucking fake.
They knew it was fake.
Yep. Yeah. Right. They knew it from the beginning as well. Like they knew a lot. Even the report. They were briefed. It says that the president Obama was briefed about how the information came from the Clinton campaign. Like they were all in on all this shit, and they again, folks. Like the point we're trying to make here, we're going to continue to make, is that they pick sides. Right, like they have their preferred party, they have their preferred politician. I'm not saying just Democrats or Obama; it's Republicans too. But you see what's going on here. It's not an apolitical organization as it's supposed to be. All right, let's keep going. Okay, let's skip a little bit here, but we'll keep going. Democrats on the Oversight Committee called Comer's narrative of the FBI obstructing a radical distortion of the situation, and they accused the chairman of stonewalling them from the call with Wray on Wednesday. This subpoena document, by definition, reveals nothing more than an unverified and unsubstantiated tip made to Donald Trump's Justice Department, which presumably led to no evidence of criminal wrongdoing, says Rep. Jamie Raskin. It sounds kind of like the Trump-Russia collusion thing, right? Like that the FBI started their entire investigation off of. The lawmakers used the word alleged 3 times in the opening paragraph of the letter and offered no evidence of the veracity of the accusations or any details about what they contend are highly credible, unclassified whistleblower disclosures. There's like so many descriptive terms here, like to just stress to you. The White House has called the subpoena effort further evidence of how congressional Republicans long have been lobbying unfounded, unproven, politically motivated attacks against the Biden family without offering evidence for their claims or evidence of decisions influenced by anything other than U.S. interests.
This was the paragraph. I'm sorry to cut you off. This was the paragraph that I wanted to bring up.
I was getting irritated as I read it, so go ahead.
So has long been lobbying unfound, unproven, politically motivated attacks against the Biden family. Just a few weeks ago, we oh God, what's his name with the goatee? And he just released, you just said his name.
Durham?
Yeah, Durham. I can't believe I forgot that. Released how the FBI lied and was lobbying unfound, unproven, politically motivated attacks against Donald Trump and his team. We impeached Donald Trump from an anonymous whistleblower on a call to Ukraine. It was okay to use an anonymous whistleblower, but here these are unfounded, unproven And meanwhile, if you look up, if you go up a few paragraphs, they're talking about how it is a detailed description of what went on between this foreign nationalist and then Vice President Joe Biden.
Yeah, it kind of contradicts it, right? Where they're also saying like, there's nothing, it's uncorroborated, there's no evidence or anything at all. It's interesting, right? Because I don't even want to call it like, well, the Democrats. Anything the deep state does, they accuse everyone else of doing, and that's exactly what they do here. They have, they say have been lobbying unfounded, unproven, politically motivated attacks against the the family. That's exactly what the deep state has been doing against anybody who opposes it.
Yeah.
Literally anybody. Forget about even Trump. Go all the way back years, right? Where they called libertarians domestic terrorists. What an insane fucking thing to say about a group of people who has almost no power politically right now in the country. I'll wrap it up here. A contempt of Congress charge would require a full committee vote before going to the House floor. If the House were to approve a contempt resolution against Wray, the decision about whether to prosecute him would fall to prosecutors in the Justice Department where Wray works. That little tidbit at the end right there reminds me
that's a nice little black
quote, the quote where like the government investigated itself and found that it had no wrongdoing or something like that. So even if there were to be a thing here, I'm like, good, go ahead, do it. You know, I don't care. What's going to come of it? Again, there's no accountability. You can't rely on government to hold itself accountable. It won't. When Garrett sent this to us the other day, I also laughed because from my point of view, it's like, man, they're more concerned with holding people accountable for not like showing up to a meeting than they are for the actual crime, the treason that they committed. And they'll put on like this theater and this bluster. And I'm not saying there's no value in it at all. We're covering it here, right? So we know about it. So there is some value to it. But it is just interesting from my point of view. And you should keep that in mind, everybody listening. When you hear all these things, nothing ever comes from government. It's just theater. That's all it is. At the end of the day, that's all this is. Again, I'm glad that they're trying to do something, but it's theater at the end of the day. Go ahead.
So, you know, with what we have seen the FBI do over the past several years with their politically charged attacks, and they are politically charged attacks. They raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. That was unprecedented. To search for all these documents that he had. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was just as guilty of it. Everything, all the court hearings, everything they're putting everybody through from January 6th. You know, this is people keep saying the FBI is weaponized. I'm starting to wonder if the FBI was more powerful than we ever imagined and it weaponized the government. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I almost feel like the FBI at this point and the CIA, all the three-letter agencies, NSA, all that stuff, are so powerful or have been so powerful that they are their own government, keeping government in check.
They're the deep state. Yeah. They're the organizations. They're the agencies, right? Like they're, you know, when the founding fathers, I don't think
government weaponized them. I think they weaponized the government.
It's a good argument to be made, right? You can maybe possibly trace it back when you know John Kennedy got his head blown off, right, and he was looking to kind of like tidy the ship and get rid of all these things. And the point I was going to make is like, hey, when the founding fathers they drew this thing up, there was no FBI, there was no CIA, they didn't have any of this stuff. It was a very limited, small federal government and the states and whatnot. All this stuff is like a new invention of the past 100 years, not even. And I think you could probably trace a lot of this back to like Hoover and you know, his involvement with the agencies and all that stuff. It really is something. I don't, you know, when I was on with Alan and James on We the People Radio, I know you weren't there. Alan talked about this, the FBI, a little bit, and they were kind of talking about you know, like what could the FBI do at this point to save face, and no matter which way you chop it up. And I'm sure you'll agree with me here, I'd say 30 to 40, possibly 50% of the country now does not like the FBI. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you thought of the FBI as like the good guys who do
the heroes to save the day.
And I'm not talking about libertarians who know everything, right? They've been hated the FBI forever. I'm talking about like majority of the population. There's normies. There's all the shows, right? Like FBI this, FBI that. The FBI was like a popular thing. Everybody wants to be like a cool agent. Wasn't
Scully X-Files, weren't they FBI?
Maybe, or CIA. You know what I'm saying though? Like, you know, there's that aspect of propaganda.
Sensationalized it.
It's cool. Like you're a badass if you're an FBI agent. Things have changed. Dramatically. Now and if not 50%, maybe 25 to 30% of the country, I think now just outright wants the FBI abolished.
I'd say between the
what do you
past
think? Yeah,
between 2015 to today, if we start at 0% in 2014, let's just say, and it was never 0%, I would say like 50% by now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So let's say at least 50. Let's say at least 50% either want the FBI abolished or completely reformed.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say that. So when Alan and James and I were saying is like, well, how can they repair their image, right? Because like this is something they've never had to deal with before. And if they want to survive as an agency or just have jobs, it's not in their interest for half the population to want their company shut down, right? So what do they do? And James was of the opinion, well, there's nothing they can do at this point. And I was like, oh, no, there's something they can do. They could trick all you motherfuckers back into liking them again, right? They could try to behave like they're impartial again. And the example I use is like they should just go after Joe Biden, right? Go after the entire
sacrifice him,
lean into it, sacrificing him, right? He's just a puppet at the end of the day anyway. Throw conservatives, MAGA people a bone and be like, yeah, we've tidied up the ship here at the FBI, and now we're gonna go after. We're sorry about the mistakes we made in the past. Now we're gonna go after everybody fairly, and whatnot. And they offer up, your sacrifice in Joe Biden or Hunter, probably Hunter Biden, to be honest with you here, something like that. And then they start the propaganda of, like, yeah, we've cleaned up the act here, and
we took down the mighty Biden crime family.
Yes. And my fear as a libertarian is that's probably what's going to happen. And that will probably co-opt conservatives into maybe changing their tune and not being so invested in the abolishment of the FBI.
Well, definitely, if something like that was to take place, Americans would quickly forget that, Russiagate was fake and everything, so I'm glad you brought up like the term like image and, how to fix it and stuff like that, because this is what shocks me. I shouldn't say shock at this point in the game, but we'll use it anyway. This is what shocks me the most is just a few weeks ago, Durham comes out and says the FBI lied about the Russiagate investigation. And the only people towing the line of saying this is disinformation are the weakest brainwashed individuals on Twitter. No one else is buying this crap anymore. So here you are 3 weeks later, you're covering for Joe Biden and you're getting involved in political gamesmanship in a two-tier justice system. They're not even trying to save face. They don't give a fuck about their image. I think we're at a point now where the deep state is so exposed that if it's any more exposed, it's just going to operate above board and thumb their nose at you and not give a shit. What are you going to do to the FBI to stop the FBI from doing? 70%, 80% of the country could want them disbanded or reconfigured or anything like that. I think at this point, it's not going to stop them. That's why I don't even think the government weaponized the FBI. I think the FBI had control of all the strings to begin with.
Yeah, you're describing like they just go full heel turn. Yeah. Like I don't know, like I envision like
throw it into the wind.
Some press conference at some point, like they're up there trying so hard to like spin the propaganda, and then all of a sudden they're just like, you know what, never mind, forget it. Like, you're all under arrest. Like we're sending men with guns to all your homes. If you dare oppose us, like they just like, you know what? They get lazy in a sense. They're like, no, it's just easier at this point to just be the overt.
Look at what the FBI and these agencies did to Twitter during COVID and the election. A huge psyop that destroyed our First Amendment on social media. There's nothing showing that they care anymore. There's nothing showing. They still believe that they are the good heroes that you see on the Netflix shows and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's what blows my mind, that like you could just have bad press after bad press and still and then like in the same breath be like, oh no, this isn't a two-tier justice system. We're politically unbiased, but we're gonna fuck over Trump as hard as we can.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're at that point necessarily yet. I do think they're still trying to propaganda, but this reminds me of this conversation reminds me of something I was listening to Dave Smith and Jeff Dice talk about this, and they were saying how like the elites in charge, like the deep state elites, have essentially like dropped all pretenses of caring about you at this point.
They just need to get their they need to win at all costs,
right?
At this
like,
point.
And if you can compare, I'd say Biden is a puppet, but he's part of the deep state, definitely. If you can compare his rhetoric at the beginning of his presidency when he won, and he was talking about, I'm going to be the president, the unifier. Remember this?
Moderate,
remember
the most moderate president ever.
Most moderate president ever. I'm going to be the unifier. To now 2.5 years later, where they're calling half the population terrorists and weaponizing, like using the agencies to as like a KGB force to go after their political opponents. They've, in a sense, dropped all pretenses. They've been pushed into a corner so far. So much of the population hates each other. They're starting to make that heel turn where they're just coming out overtly as the bad guys. Whereas before they were trying this thing of like, okay,
soon the lizard people won't even need to wear a mask.
Yes, right, exactly. You know what I mean? Right, exactly. Like they'll be telling you to wear a mask, but they just won't be wearing a mask ever again. Like they've taken off. The mask has come off, to use a pun there. It's interesting, man. Really is. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're almost there. Where it won't be a conspiracy theory anymore from people like me and you, because it's going to be outright. They're just going to be like, we're the evil villains, boys. Too bad. Like, stack up. Let's go.
Stack up. Yeah, fuck you, stack up. Like we were talking about this all stems back to what was that strategy to combat domestic terrorism.
This is all this is. Combating domestic terrorism.
Yeah, this is all this is. You are not on our team. You are not playing for our team. So we are going to use the full force of deep state law enforcement to come down
on you, right?
And on top of it, everything that we've talked about over the years, all of our conspiracies that have come true,
and our predictions,
all of our predictions that have come true. I'm telling you right now, if Biden was innocent, they wouldn't be playing this game. So we could set a receipt here right now. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Biden's guilty as shit right now. He had a play to pay scheme. He probably still has a play to pay scheme. Everything that they're trying to, all the documents that the FBI are trying to withhold from the House Oversight Committee, we're over the target. If we weren't over the target, this wouldn't be an issue.
And look, man, it doesn't take a fucking PhD in political science to get that they have a play to pay scheme, right?
Yeah.
We just touched on this last episode, right? When we're talking about Black Lives Matter, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, a gas company in Ukraine. Hunter Biden has no experience in the gas industry. He's a fucking crackhead loser son of a famous person, right? He's got no experience whatsoever. What was he doing there on the board of Burisma? He was there to curry favor with his father for Burisma. We're in a war with Ukraine, and Russia right now. Like, I think that's all not interconnected in some way. It is. So yes, they are currying favor, pay to play schemes, all that. Like that.